You know that feeling when you catch yourself in a mirror unexpectedly and for just a second, you don't recognize yourself? That split-second confusion, that's the gap between who you think you are and what consciousness actually is. And here's the thing. Nobody wants to admit you're not stuck being anything. See, consciousness isn't divided up like pieces of pie. There's just one substance, one I am, expressing itself in a million different arrangements. Think of it like magnetism. The electrons don't stop existing when steel loses its charge. They just rearrange themselves. You're the same way. The beggar and the king aren't made of different stuff, just different arrangements of the same consciousness. And you're the one doing the arranging. The world has no motive of its own. It's just sitting there, waiting to mirror back whatever arrangement you've settled into. Most people walk around thinking circumstances made them what they are. Bad luck, tough childhood, wrong opportunities. But that's backwards. Your concept of yourself came first, and everything else followed. The proof is simple. Change your concept. Watch your world change. Now here's where it gets practical. Attention is your only real tool. Most of us spray our attention everywhere like water from a broken hose. We think about what we want for 5 minutes, then spend 5 hours thinking about what we don't want, what we're afraid of, what went wrong yesterday, and we wonder why nothing changes. Concentrated attention isn't daydreaming. It's assuming the feeling of the wish fulfilled until that feeling becomes more real than your current circumstances. You've got to live in the end result with such conviction that your senses have no choice but to eventually catch up. The future isn't something that develops from the past. It's something you build from the inside out right now. This isn't fantasy. It's recognizing that what you call solid reality is actually the hardened form of your persistent assumptions. You've been creating your life all along, just unconsciously. The only question is whether you're ready to do it on purpose. Creation is already finished. You're just choosing which part of it you want to experience. Everything you'll ever be already exists. You just have to assume it. You think you're doing something, making decisions, taking action, pushing life forward. But here's what's actually happening. You're assuming. That's it. Every move, every breath, every blessed thing that unfolds in your world is the automatic result of what you've assumed yourself to be. See, you've got infinite freedom in one place only, choosing what you assume. But once you assume it, once you settle into that feeling, free will ends. Everything after that happens by itself, moves on its own steam, rolls out like a locomotive on tracks you've already laid down. You can't do a damn thing to help it along. You can only assume the state and watch it harden into fact. Most folks miss this entirely. They think righteousness means following rules, being good, keeping their nose clean. Wrong. Righteousness is the consciousness of already being what you want to be. That's it. Sin isn't breaking commandments. It's missing the mark, failing to assume the wish fulfilled, staying stuck in I will be instead of claiming I am. The whole machinery works on one principle. Consciousness is the only substance. Everything you see, touch, experience, it's just consciousness taking different shapes. Change your assumption, you change the shape. It's as simple and as impossible to avoid as breathing. You're assuming something right now, this very moment. The only question is whether you're doing it deliberately or letting it happen to you. Physical immobility helps. That drowsy state where your body's still but your attention's sharp. In that moment, feel yourself already being what you want. Not daydreaming about it, not wishing for it, being it. The feeling of the wish fulfilled, sustained until it's more real than what your senses tell you. This isn't philosophy, it's not religion. It works like electricity, impersonal, inevitable, utterly indifferent to whether you use it for good or ill. But remember this, ignoble assumptions bear ignoble fruit. Always have, always will. Your only job is assumption. Everything else, every event, circumstance, and blessed coincidence follows automatically. You're not here to do, you're here to be. And what you are determines what you see. The universe doesn't negotiate, it mirrors. You persist in a thing, you become it. Simple as that. See, most folks treat persistence like stubbornness, like gritting your teeth and pushing through. That's not it. Real persistence is shameless assumption. It's the beggar at midnight who won't leave until he gets his bread. Not because he's desperate, but because he knows the door will open. The widow bothering the judge, Jacob wrestling the angel. They all understood something most miss. The thing you want exists already. You're just refusing to leave the consciousness of not having it. Here's what kills people. They assume something for 5 minutes, then spend the next 5 hours assuming the opposite. They picture success at breakfast and failure by lunch. Wonder why nothing changes. The law doesn't care about your fleeting wishes. It responds to what you persist in being. Naturalness is everything. If your assumption feels like a costume you're wearing, it won't stick. You've got to imagine yourself into the state until it feels more real than what your senses report. The soldier didn't just think about being home. He felt the bed, saw the street, touched the furniture, night after night, until discharge papers appeared like they'd been waiting in the wings all along. This isn't fantasy. It's recognizing that time doesn't build your future. Your sustained assumption does. The son who saw his family name on that building for 2 years wasn't daydreaming. He was claiming what already existed in consciousness, waiting to harden into fact. And when you fail, when you persist and nothing happens, you didn't fail because the law is broken. You failed because somewhere, somehow, you didn't feel natural in the assumption. You were play acting instead of being. The chains felt heavier than the imagined running. Faith isn't belief in magic. It's awareness that what you assume is real. Not will be real, is real. Right now. In consciousness where all things exist before they exist anywhere else. Your destiny isn't written in stars. It's written in the state you refuse to abandon. Persist in the consciousness of the wish fulfilled with the shamelessness of someone who knows the door must open. Because it will. It always has. The universe doesn't know how to do anything else but mirror back what you insist on being. You walk around thinking you're steering the ship, planning, reasoning, working it all out with that clever brain of yours. But here's the truth they won't print in the papers. You're not moving through imagination, you're thinking from it. And that little shift, that microscopic change in preposition, that's the whole ballgame. See, imagination isn't some airy faculty for daydreams and parlor tricks. It's the forge where reality gets hammered into shape. Blake knew it, called it the eternal body, the divine itself wearing your particular face. Einstein, that patent clerk who broke the universe open, he knew it too. More important than knowledge, he said. More important than all your facts and figures and sensible plans. Most of us mistake the thing entirely. We stand outside our desires like tourists gawping at monuments, thinking about what we want, admiring it from a distance. That's not creation. That's spectatorship. Real imaginative work means you occupy the wish fulfilled. You don't peer at Barbados from a New York winter. You sleep in your father's house there. Feel the walls, hear the sounds. Let your consciousness take up residence in that reality until the physical world has no choice but to catch up. This isn't mysticism for the sake of mystery. It's practical as plumbing. You want something? Stop plotting the route and become the person who already has it. Fuse yourself with that state until you can't tell where you end and it begins. The outer world, all these circumstances you think are so solid, so immovable, they're just imagination hardened into temporary form. Change the inner, the outer follows. Always has. Always will. And here's what separates the sleepwalkers from the awakened. The sleepwalkers react to what they see. Let appearances dictate their inner life. The awakened know better. They understand that consciousness comes first, circumstances second. That every external condition is fruit from seeds they planted, knowingly or not, in the soil of their own persistent assumptions. The question Christ asks, what the Gospels keep circling back to, is simple. What do you want? Define it. Then stop wanting it and start being it. Think from the end with such conviction that your current reality becomes the dream, and your imagined state becomes the only fact that matters. That's the whole secret. That's the key they've been passing around since Blake put pen to paper. You carry two nations in your bones, the outer man who touches and sees and weighs, and the inner one who moves first, who shapes what the other will find when he wakes. Most of us live backwards, letting the world outside dictate the conversations inside. But here's what the mystics knew, what Blake shouted and Hermes whispered. The inner movement creates the outer fact. Speech. Not the kind that leaves your lips, but the kind that runs beneath your skull like underground rivers. That's the chisel that carves tomorrow. Every day you're talking to yourself, constructing sentences about who you are and what you've got and what you'll never have. Those words, silent as they are, they're building the walls of your life, laying down track for the locomotive of circumstance. And if those words don't match what you want, well, then you're spending your thoughts like a drunk spends coins, throwing them away for nothing that'll return to you. The art is this: revise. Take the day that happened and remake it in imagination the way it should have been. The letter that disappointed you, read it again in your mind, rewritten with the news you wanted. The slight, the injury, the failure, forgive it by living it over differently. This isn't fantasy or pretending. It's recognizing that the inner conversation is more real than what already happened, because it's still happening, still writing itself forward into what comes next. Your inner speech is the coin of heaven. Every word you say to yourself is an investment or a waste. Assume the feeling of already being what you want to be. Let your inner talk match that assumption, and the outer world has no choice but to harden into that shape. The blind girl who imagined herself driven to work until she could smell the gasoline and feel the door close, she wasn't daydreaming. She was speaking from the end, fusing her imagination with the wish fulfilled until reality caught up. The tongue sets fire to the whole course of nature. Not the outer tongue, the inner one. Master it and you master circumstance. Let it run wild and you're a beggar in a world of your own making, wondering why the door won't open when you've been telling yourself all along it's locked. You're walking around thinking you see the world, but here's the crooked truth. The world sees you. Every damn thing out there, trees, traffic, neighbors, bills piled on the counter, it's all looking back wearing the exact face you gave it from inside. See, there's this finished mansion sitting in consciousness, infinite rooms already built and furnished. Not coming someday, not under construction, done. Right now. You're just moving between rooms, and whichever door you walk through, that's the world you get. Blake saw it plain. Every situation already carved and waiting like sculpture in some eternal hall. The trick isn't making anything happen. It's choosing which room to stand in. Most folks treat consciousness like it's downstream from circumstances. Got this job, so I feel this way. Live in this town, so I think these thoughts. Backwards is a river running uphill. The state you assume, the mental room you occupy, that comes first. Everything else is just that state hardening into facts your hands can touch. And here's where it gets strange and beautiful and utterly practical. Christ, kingdom of heaven, whatever name you want, it's not coming from somewhere else. It's the awakening inside you the moment you catch yourself being the thing doing the imagining. Not little you with your name and social security number. The bigger you, the one Blake called human imagination itself, wearing your particular face in this particular dream. When that wakes up in you, when you stop thinking about what you want and start thinking from it, living inside the wish like it's already your address, that's when the temple gets cleaned, the prodigal comes home, the whole mystery unfolds right in the meat of your own skull. You want to change your fate? Change the state you're fused with. Feed yourself different ideas. Return again and again to the feeling of the wish fulfilled, until you're married to it, until you can't tell where you stop and it starts. That's the art. That's the only art that matters. Not hoping, not wishing, not working it out with clever plans, just assuming the state and letting everything else follow like water finding its level. The mansion's already built. You're already home. You just keep forgetting which room you're standing in.